So we are here first for a special commission meeting to begin at 5 o'clock, September 26, 2024. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Madam Clerk, would you please do the roll for us?
Mayor Groff,
Here.
Vice Mayor Huntington,
Here.
Commissioner Amsler,
Here.
Commissioner Holland, and Commissioner Kennedy.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Very, very good. Let's do Pledge of Allegiance, please. Right, so we'll go ahead and we'll start with our public comment here in the log cabin. Public comment, please remember to give us your name and address. Public comment is limited to 3 minutes. This is the agenda for the rec center playground upgrades. So we're going to start with that one with an understanding we will have a separate public comment for the 5:30 and then a separate public comment for the second read of the ordinance. So if there is any public comment for this item, now's the time. Hey, none here. Any up on Zoom? Doesn't look like it. Oh, sorry. Okay. Sorry. I'm just excited.
Waiting on a.
No one had tested it, it was on.
Maybe.
Waiting for a part, right? So the mic plug into that thing.
Maybe just, yeah.
Public speak mic on.
That works.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Gage Hartung, 1029 Northeast 114th Street. This is regarding rec center. So again, comes back to pickleball again. It was not until like last Thursday that I think I saw something on I think it was maybe the Biscayne Park app or something like that, that it just had a keyword that said pickleball. So again, I've spoken about this before. My thing is not so much against pickleball as I'm opposed to the fact that we are proposing items for the park, improvements for the park that have not been properly vetted by the village residents. We haven't had, we know the way we do things around here is we have notice, we have workshops, we have public comment, we have more workshops. I mean, I've lived in the village long enough to know that things get talked to death. And so when we're talking about capital improvements to the park, it shouldn't just be something that happens to be noticed on a agenda somewhere without public comment. So again, it's not, for me, it's not personally about the pickleball, it's about the process of doing it. And I just don't, and I spoke to about this last year, I just don't think that adding capital improvements to the park through a budgetary process without the public really having an input on it is something that we really should be doing. You know, it's just, it's a maneuver that I think it leaves the village residents out of the process. So I will leave it at that and I'll be back up in a minute for the next agenda.
Thanks, Gage.
Company tonight.
Barbara Kuehl, 777 Northeast 111th Street. I agree with Gage. I don't come to every meeting. I don't always watch every meeting, but I look at the agendas and I hadn't seen anything about this, the pickleball, the grant, until a couple of days ago. I just happened to see something. I don't even know if it was on Nextdoor. Just something caught my eye about the butterfly park. And then I also saw pickleball. I've worked on probably 7 or 8 grants for the village, park and parkways, the playground, other things. This takes a long time. It's a type of thing where we have many meetings. It's completely outlined. It's vetted. The residents are aware of what's happening. And I really, really object to something being shoved in at the last minute. I don't care if our budget is ending. This is the time you think about next year. You start the process after the budget hearings end and you have a new year. And make people aware of it, because I do have problems with pickleball. I didn't see some major outcry to have pickleball. And I don't think the implications of having a pickleball court have really been vetted and discussed. But this is to me deceptive to residents, to wake up and find out that something has been added and you turn around and all of a sudden you're moving forward with it. And I don't think that's the right process. Thank you.
I like this, like Commissioner for 3. Okay, Gary Kuehl, 777 Northeast 111th Street. Isa, sorry to say, I looked at that survey and I gotta say it was a little odd, you know, do you use the park? Is it clean? Do you want a pickleball court? I mean, it's incongruous, and to me, is no way to gauge what the village wants. It's not a general question, what's like, what would you like to see in the park? It's very slanted. The other thing that occurs to me about this is, amongst other projects, we paid a consultant to study the park, come up with a scheme with parking, which is a code violation as it stands, like others. And then it just goes in the waste paper basket and we move on with new projects. I'd like to see some of the things that we did pay a consultant for get done, namely one that's very important is lighting at the log cabin, which has been around for years. And I think about every year I bring it up as a code violation. I just, it's like we're going about this in just an extraordinarily unordinary way. Anyway, that's it. Thank you.
Good afternoon, David Raymond, 11520 Northeast 9th Avenue. Sorry for my back here to you, Matt. So I agree with everything that Gage and Barbara and Gary just said, particularly on the process, because I think about a week or two ago, I saw an email that said something about pickleball, and then that was the last thing, and then Brian put something out on Nextdoor, thank you, about this and a grant. And I thought that this discussion today was about a grant for the playground and the whole recreation center area. So I'm confused as to what this meeting and what this whole process is even about. And I agree on the survey. I didn't really know what that was getting at. But I will say that I think that we have some basic needs to take care of first before we add something like pickleball. I'm not saying to pass on a grant opportunity you have. If there's a grant here, which I think am I missing something? Maybe that's part of the discussion. I think we should go after it to upgrade the playground equipment and some of the things that we have there that's being used currently for the residents that we have. If that's even, maybe I'm lost here. Pickleball, the parking, I live 2 houses from the park. Soccer, and my grandson plays soccer there. I love Miami Shore Soccer League. I don't love all the way people park on the sidewalks. We don't have parking at the rec center, period. We don't. And Isa and his staff are great, and they come out there and tell people what they can, and people ignore them. And, you know, it happens. And the police come and people ignore them too. And you can't even walk around the rec center some days on soccer day, which is not good. And it's not good for people. I can amble around, but there are residents here who can't. And kids on scooters and all kinds of things. So unless we have that basic infrastructure and we have staffing that are going to monitor these pickleball courts, if that's what you're trying to do, I don't know that we have staff who can do that. And if you're going to charge residents, if you're going to charge non-residents, if you get a grant, are you allowed to charge people that? I mean, there's so many things to talk about with this that can't be discussed in a half an hour, but I'll shut up now. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Andres Campodonico. I'm a resident of 1112 Northeast 10th Avenue. I've been living in Biscayne Park for 2 years. The only reason I'm here is because I think pickleball is a great idea. I currently play pickleball in Miami Shores Rec Center, and it's packed of people all the time. And the fee was $3, and they increased it to non-residents to $10. So it's becoming extremely expensive for me. I know that for a lot of people as well, I know people that live in Biscayne Park that go there, and I used to play 4 to 5 times a week. So that's $50 already. Times 4 is $200 a month already just in pickleball. And I just believe that just looking at taxes here, which are one of the highest in South Florida, I would say, we should have a pickleball. It will attract families, different demographics to play in, on the park. I feel like I agree with a lot of what you said. Obviously, there's other needs as well, but pickleball is still a great idea. And then I would like to commend my full support. And also, if you guys need some funding, I will be happy to be an advocate and help with that as well. Thank you.
There's no additional comment here in the log cabin. I'll turn over to Zoom. Don't think we have any on Zoom. Going once, going twice. Okay.
Are we doing replies, Jonathan?
Yes, so.
Thanks for everyone who spoke, and nice to see someone here, I think for the first time at a meeting, so please join us more often. I know nothing about this survey. What's that all about? What's this talk about a survey? Who did it? Was it done professionally?
So
Together?
part of the grant application, sorry, I lost my voice in the last couple of days. Part of the grant application, we get extra points. This is a point-based system.
Sorry, Ryan, I can't.
Sorry, you can't hear me. This is a point-based system, and by putting out a survey, even if it's not the most descriptive, even if they're not the most targeted, just putting out a survey gets us points that makes us more attractive to the state. So it's a requirement. It's not a necessity by any means, and it's not a requirement, but it ups our points. So it was suggested by the grant writer to up our points in the point-based system. ISA was nice enough to come up with a survey really quickly and put it out. And I help push it out through the different socials and things like that, trying to get as much responses as we could in the last minute. I understand it's last minute, but it's just points. It's maximizing the point-based system. That's all it is.
Okay, so I'm sorry, again, I'm hearing this for the first time, so I'm really caught off guard. Did the grant writer write the survey?
It was ISA and the grant writer worked together to write the survey. It was based on other previous FERDAP surveys.
Okay, so this is a step of the grant itself. So we took one of the steps of the grant before we've even approved the idea of doing the grant.
Not a requirement. It's just like collecting your documents and things like that. It's not a necessity, not a requirement.
Understood.
It's
Okay.
just-
Do we have a copy of this? I'd like to see it. I mean, the village did something that's official and I didn't even know it happened, and I'd like to see it and see some results. I mean, if we're discussing this, have you seen it?
I saw it and
Yeah?
I saw it, but it didn't come officially. I saw it on the chat that's going around for months, and it was just a link from someone suggesting they received it. I don't know where was distributed, but
A copy of it
I
with you?
mean, to me, it was, I didn't know that there was the village kind of putting it together. I didn't see it on the app either. How's this? I see your concern. How you?
I
how-
just I'm not used to sitting here in a meeting live to discuss a topic that I've not seen backup material for, and hearing
mean, like
residents talk about something
official-
I never knew it. It's, yeah, and did the village. I'm just kind of confused. I'm used to
So,
knowing.
so was it who shared it or how? No idea. Okay.
Do we have results from it? I mean, if we did a survey, I'd like to see the survey and the results.
That one's not working.
I would appreciate it if someone would have sent this to us. I'm not suggesting you because you can't, but I would have appreciated if someone who was aware of it sent it to us at least.
So the FERDAP grant is a grant that we can do, I think what our goal was, the money that was put aside for the pickleball court, which was already earmarked for a pickleball court, there as a placeholder, to possibly use that to increase the grant, the size of the grant. It's a matching grant that's done by the state. It's done by a point system. The survey, though it was, I guess, slanted, I don't know if I would say it was slanted, but I understand it didn't allow you to give much input, but it was based on some of the aspects of what we would like to include in the grant, which was new picnic tables, new trash cans, how clean. So one of the questions is how clean. The playgrounds obviously both need to be redone. We were hoping that within this grant, we can do that. So right now we are trying to push to reach the deadline for the grant. We're not trying to push the grant through without feedback from the community. We're trying to reach the deadline so then we can still have multiple meetings. But if we get the application in on time, then we have 3 years, correct me if I'm wrong, 3 years to complete the projects which we would like to see envisioned in that grant.
Mhm.
So the survey went out, social media, Nextdoor, it's on the website. There's a flyer which has the QR code that you scan to go and take the survey.
Was it emailed to?
Don't think it was emailed out, no. But 2 days ago, the survey went. So it hasn't been out floating. I can email it to you right now, definitely.
Okay.
Haven't got results. I think as of right now, there's been 40
Is it closed?
completions, no. That's-
Was it not a survey to Biscayne Park?
No, it was open.
It's an open survey, basically.
survey.
Anybody that has a link can access it and vote.
So I think,
Yeah.
what we do at this point, Isa, thanks for giving us the information. I'd like to see it as well. So if you could circulate it to the commissioners, that'd be helpful. I don't know that we'll be acting on any of the information that we received within it. If I understand it correctly, it was to help improve the possibility that we could get grant money.
The visibility.
Whether or not we consider and we rely on the information as accurate or indicative of a community reply. Right. Yeah. Yeah, I heard survey too, and I hadn't seen it. But you kind of get into the substance very quickly before we do that in Vice Mayor. I'd like you to kind of, again, give us the introduction as we get into this, but very quickly, I'd like to just wrap up the reply. If we wanted to finish up with any replies at this time, were there any other replies to public comment? I think you can stay, Isa. You give him the.
One other, and then,
Yes.
I'm not sure who mentioned FERDAP for the first time, Barbara, I think you did. We weren't provided any backup, so I don't know anything about the grant. So all I saw was an agenda item saying we're going to discuss this, and there's no backup on it. I know that there was something on Nextdoor that, quite honestly, I didn't have time to read. Had a pretty busy work, and then a budget was emailed to us yesterday. I didn't know about the survey, and now I know it's a FERDAP thing, and I've never seen anything. So is this all going to be explained to us here in the next 11 minutes? Because we have another thing in 11 minutes, and we're not starting the budget late, guys. We're going to be here a long time tonight. We got things to do. So I don't have any backup on that either. So she mentioned it. I don't know what that is either, quite
Okay.
honestly.
So do we, are there any other reply? Can we give,
Yeah, no, I had the same last sort of question about backup and maybe get a background information. My number one question is, we have a grant writer that sits by us that we actually pay for. I'm disappointed not to hear about this, obviously, from them. I'm thankful that you're able to find that, but I would have loved to hear with all the backup from the person that we hire. And if not, sort of ask you questions about it, see if the attorney have seen any information back up in terms of what's required from us. Those are my questions.
well, we got 10.
Let me I'll make my reply quick. So I completely agree. Community involvement needs to happen. We have 3 years. We should have started this process a long time ago, but we didn't. We have until now, thank goodness, because of the hurricane, we have until October 14th to apply. If we don't apply for those funds, the project's not getting off the ground. So we have 3 years from the time we get funded to do those community involvements, to do those planning projects. This meeting is by no means a planning meeting. We're not going to plan every aspect of this project tonight. We're not going to decide if we have pickleball. What we are going to decide on whether or not we apply for the grant. We ask for the money. Same thing with the, well, you say, no, you don't want the money, we don't want the money. We have up until they fund it, which they don't fund this historically till January or February, where they actually say you've awarded the funds. You have until that point to say, no, we walk out. We'll pull our application, we walk away. Excuse me?
Yeah.
I understand. I'm just telling you the information the grant writer has explained to me, that we can write the grant, highlighting pickleball, highlighting the intentions, and then as we work through it, we can adjust, we can pivot, we can, things like that. Yeah, and as far as the funds are concerned, you can. No, 3 years, 3 years are to complete the project for, no matter whether it's land acquisition or redevelopment, it's 3 years.
You need the mic.
Yeah, we need, so listen, we have,
From-
we need to, yeah, we need to read the resolution because we need to have a vote. We need to get to the resolution.
There needs to be a record. So
Right.
generally, it's in the way the agenda is formatted, there's public comment and then there's commission reply. I mean, you're at the point now where we're back and forth with.
That's why, like I said, we need to get into the resolution. Right, so we need to get in the resolution. So Brad, if you could please read us the resolution because we need to get, we've got only a few minutes remaining for this one, so I'd like us to just get to this so we can talk about it. Could you please read us the resolution, please? Thank you.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park amending the 2023 through 2031 capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2025 through 2026 to amend various recreational capital improvement projects, authoring the village manager to do all things necessary to carry out the plan, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Brad. So Vice Mayor, we've only got a couple of minutes left. If you can get us to the point where we're able to vote on this.
So,
like,
so the overall spirit of this is the funds for pickleball were placed in our budget a year ago. It's been in our budget, it's been in our CIP. There's been plenty of time for residents to come out and voice their opposition, their support for pickleball. When we brought up this grant and we brought up grant matching funds, I said, this is a better opportunity to maximize our funds by using the majority of those pickleball funds as our match to bring in a $400,000 grant, which will allow us to hopefully do pickleball in maybe a smaller change pivot. We can plan that as we go along, do new playgrounds, which are vastly needed. Our playgrounds were put in 2004. ISA just had to custom order 2 slides because the manufacturer doesn't make them anymore. These are safety concerns for our children. And overall, adding trash cans, benches, things that make us a true municipal park and not what we currently have today, which is in disrepair. That's where we're at. I said, bring us a true municipal park where we don't have trash cans that are falling apart, benches that aren't there, playgrounds that are unsafe for our children, adding the pickleball if we want. I let pickleball in there because it's the funds from pickleball, and I don't want to just say, hey, I'm taking it all for the playground and pickleball out. I want it to stay as part of the conversation so we amongst the group can decide whether or not it stays or goes. I agree. I'm not a huge proponent on pickleball. I have flooding concerns as far as impervious surfaces. But whatever. It's maximizing our funds. We were going to spend $90,000 a year ago on one project. This would allow us to spend those funds on a multitude of projects, improving our overall park for all residents, not just pickleball players.
Can I ask you a question about that, one specific question? Is this a one-time opportunity or is this a grant that's available every year to municipalities?
It's available every year. It's been available for 5+ years. Our commitment, ISA has been pleading with us to apply for many, many years, and no one's been listening to
It's
it.
the first time I've ever heard about it. So if he's been pleading.
You can do research, you can find it. We should have found this years and years ago. The CIP is not a requirement of it. It helps you with points, but it's not a requirement. That's misinformation that this commission has been given.
It did, I'm sorry,
Say that, I'm sorry. say
Yeah,
that-
sorry. The CIP is not a requirement, which is something that with this misinformation we keep getting given, that we had to have CIP to apply for this. We could have applied this 5 years ago without CIP.
we could have applied, for
yes,
why
100%.
haven't we?
Because no one researched it, no one pushed it, no one said, let's apply for this. And
So-
ISA has been, and no,
Through for a non-matching, the first phase of the grant is $50,000 non-matching.
Okay,
We started the application process last year. We were in transition of not having the village manager.
when was this?
The same time, the deadline is every year, the same time when
Got it.
budgeting.
Okay,
So Paul and I actually sat with the grant writers last year, but in that transition, we didn't feel like it was the time to try
Yeah.
to push that through with everything else that was going on.
Yeah.
So this isn't just something that we're trying to spring on the community. The commissioner just thought that it would be a nice way to tie in that 90 that's already been earmarked.
Yeah.
Maximize those funds. Instead of just taking the 50 where we don't have to match, now we can put that 90 up and do multiple projects with the money we get. So
Got
that's
it.
basically where it is. But again, it's the deadline. The deadline has been extended to October 14th. We definitely want community input. There's other aspects of the grant where we have to have community input.
yeah,
This is just a phase of it to try to push it through so we can submit the application on time.
So, look, I appreciate all of that, and I'm not disbelieving anything you guys are saying. I have no reason to think you got anything wrong, but I'm like learning on the fly at a meeting where we're gonna vote to do something. This is what we have a grant writer for, to walk us through the process, help us understand the process, find these opportunities, first of all, and make sure we're doing it all right. So I wish the grant writer were here and saying, we should do this, we can do this, it's how we do it, here's how we do it. So I have some process issues as well, but at least I now have a better, somewhat of an understanding of what we're looking at here, but I don't understand why it wasn't done before, if that's the case. But, so to answer my question, it's not a one-time, it's not like if we don't act by October 14th, we lose this opportunity forever. It's this time every year, and we could spend the year working on a process and making sure it's what we want and go for it with residents' awareness.
yes, but
and-
you're only allowed to put in 2 applications a year. We're allowed to have 3 active applications. So if we maximize our chances this year, we can ask for something again next year and have 3 working projects and continually improve our village.
And again, these
over-
are things that I would want a grant writer here saying, I mean, we have a grant writer, and Ryan, I appreciate that you found this. I really, really do. And I don't want to like squash any your guys are, if you've looked at the agenda for next week, you're going to see that I put this on the agenda before I knew this even existed. On the agenda next week, we're going to discuss alternative revenue sources, lobbyist, grants, private funding. We need to be serious about that at the beginning of a fiscal year and plan for it for a year and make it happen for the following year. So I don't want to like squash this in any way, but I want to hear this from the grant writer whose job it is to do this, to make sure it is all correct and we're doing it the proper way, and that maybe there's something better. I don't know. But I wish we were better organized in that regard, so commissioners didn't have to try to fill in gaps, quite frankly. We'll have that conversation again next Tuesday as well.
Ryan, can I ask a question? Because we're already very close. The idea of the grant, have you seen the grant? Do you have the grant? Is it anywhere in a position where we would be able to review the grant?
Well, we'd have to talk to our grant writer, but I will say he's been working diligently with ISA, developing this grant.
Okay.
Like the way he describes the relation, him and ISA are almost best friends at this point.
And
Who instructed the grant writer to do this?
Just did-
Then why isn't Chris here presenting? Why is this not coming from administration? If the village manager is getting the grant writer to do this, again, I'm not being negative in any way towards you. I don't understand why it's coming from a commissioner if the village is doing this.
I completely understand. And I don't know if you guys reviewed CIP. This has been on CIP since its inception, pickleball, FERDAP. And so I always assumed we had this in hand. And when I started doing research, I found out we were going to miss the deadline again, and another year, 5 years in a row, missing the deadline.
FERDAP's not on the CIP.
Yes, it is.
Pickleball is.
No. If you look under grant opportunities, another tab,
Yeah, but it's
FERDAP.
not listed there as a thing on the CIP. It's
Okay.
a funding.
but it's in the
I
document.
get it.
So Chris had the intention since the inception to apply for FERDAP. And when I started doing the research, I found we're going to miss this opportunity because we're not pushing it. We're not scheduling the meetings we need to. And I understand it's last minute, but this is the job, to advocate for the residents and to make us actually do improvements.
I'm all about getting stuff done. I did see that part of your next door post, like be the village to get stuff done. It's how we get it done is what my concern is. So I'm kind of at a loss why. I understand why you're championing it. I don't understand why you're doing it. It seems to me the grant writer and the manager should be doing this, and the grant writer could be sitting in this meeting right now. Is the grant writer here? And I don't know who the grant writer is. I don't even know what the grant writer is working on. Do you guys?
No.
No. So on Tuesday, we're going to have that conversation, and I asked Chris to have the grant writer here for that, and I don't know if it's a man, a woman, a team, I don't know. But it's time we get that organized. So I love the idea of using someone else's money to get stuff done for us, and I love the idea of investing in the rec center for Issa's department. It's the how that I'm having a problem with. And the fact that it was just kind of like, boom, there it is. And we have to finish a budget tonight, guys.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, go ahead.
No, just very quickly, I think I sort of agree with Commissioner Kennedy. I'm all for it. Again, I'm very thankful you found it. I just wish it would have come sooner. Issa, this is sort of on your department, you know, if it was something already being processed since previous year, maybe something that we could have discussed in February. And again, I don't know what the process of timing has been, but I would have put this in the calendar 6 months ago and discuss it in a commission meeting with a survey done 3 months, you know, before we vote on this. Again, just to highlight the importance of having the knowledge of what goes on with the grant writer and sort of the efforts that are being put together. All for all of the things you mentioned in terms of the recreation center being bumped up, but there's projects still that needs to be done, you know, to Gary's point. I mean, we've had a lot of discussions of the parking and all this stuff, and pickleball was one of the subjects that we spoke about. People said yes or no. I just feel is rushed. I also would have liked to see the back end of the grant itself, had the attorney review it. I'm happy to discuss it next year if that's the only chance we have, but we, meaning staff from the manager down, need to be leading this earlier. It's just, I don't see how it can happen this quickly.
So I have another question. I don't know who it's for. I think Chris, are you there listening to us? For those of you who aren't aware, Chris
Yes,
Pruitt's our village manager. He's zooming in tonight. So Chris, are we paying the grant writer to work on this? I mean, do we pay them for their services, or are we paying them to work on this particular grant?
we pay them to do a set number of grants each year. This is one of the grants that they are working on.
Okay. So, and when did you assign this to them?
This has been ongoing. I'm not sure when this started. The recent push was from Commissioner Huntington to try to get this going immediately.
Okay, so we're spending money right now on a grant that it sounds like we're all questioning. I'd like to see what they did. We have an October 14th deadline. I don't even know what I'd be voting on tonight, quite frankly, because I haven't seen a grant. I haven't seen the FERDAP requirements. I'd like to know if we have until October 14th and you can somehow, I'm so confused who's even doing this. If I could see, if there was something in front of me, I'd be very happy to look at it. If you're telling me we have until October 14th and we paid for a product that's now not, if we say no right now, it's not going to be used, which that doesn't make me happy either. We're paying for a grant writer to work on something that we weren't aware of and that we didn't say go. So I want to see it, regardless of whether we vote yes or no. I'd like to see this thing and and understand it better.
So Vice Mayor, what are the chances of getting some of that information as part of the discussion that we're having next week?
We could definitely try. I would say that part of the resolution that's here is amending the CIP because it's a requirement of the FERDAP that it's on our CIP under name with the right dollar amount. So we would have to move this resolution to next week if we can and talk about it again then. That's the necessity that has to happen tonight or on Tuesday. It can happen on Tuesday.
But we have a budget to approve that is not incorporating this, right, on the CIP?
You would be amending the CIP, so all you do is
Okay,
do that at any time.
The concern from what we're hearing right now is that there's not enough information, or they'd like to see some of the backup. We'd like to read it, have it in front of us, maybe have the grant writer address some of the questions. It sounds like in trying to kind of salvage what we're working on and what you've done so far, that the best option right now might be to have that information available to us next week.
and have the grant writer here to address it rather than having a commissioner who's championing it, which I love, but I want to hear the grant writer explain this all to me.
So can we, Brad, from a procedural standpoint, can we table this?
Yeah, so nobody's moved it.
I know, I know, I
We
know.
went right into discussion, but so if somebody wants to make a motion to table it for a date certain, which would be October 1st of 2024, then, Mr. Mayor, you could entertain that motion and call a vote.
Okay,
Okay.
and
Before we make a motion, Jonathan.
Yeah.
Our October 1st agenda is very full. There's items on there from May. And one of them is really serious, and I'm not having my item from May heard about the police department and all the crap that went down there. We will have that discussion on Tuesday, one way or the other.
I'm not necessarily saying that if we were to move it, we will get to it. I'm just saying if.
Well,
we're
but
trying to
if
solve-
if the idea is that we intend to really take it seriously, and if we're going to do this, then we should. I'm going to later on tonight be asking that we call an emergency meeting because of the fact that our village manager resigned today and he's trying to leave earlier than his contract requires. We need to have a conversation about that. So I'm going to be asking that we have an emergency meeting an hour before our commission meeting so we don't trip up over the commission meeting. What would be the procedure to discuss it then?
To discuss this resolution then?
To discuss it then?
So
Could we have two items on the agenda? The first one being the manager and the second one being this item
Talking about having a special meeting to
at 5 o'clock on Tuesday.
deal with this matter.
Yep. And in the meantime, we are provided the information we're asking for.
You,
Special meeting, special meeting.
I can't hear you, Pam. Do is if they can move this, if they can, by vote, move the special meeting to October 1st, which you can. And
Okay.
you can have more than one item on a special meeting.
Okay.
But you cannot add items to the special.
Understood.
Whatever you all approve today to put on the special meeting
Mhm.
for whatever it is, 5 o'clock, October 1st,
Mhm.
those are the items. You can't have walk.
Understood. I understand. That's okay. So I would be happy to support that we do both of those things, but we do need to talk about the manager at a special meeting.
okay, so and again, this is coming from the interest of trying to
We need to deal with one item at a time. Right now, at the dais and on the floor is this resolution 2024-37. So we need to hold off on what you want to do as far as any discussion with the manager.
Right, no, I understand. We're talking about this right now. We're talking about this resolution. So this is with the interest of getting some additional time to try and get the backup so we can consider it and hopefully, maybe, move it forward and make it happen. So let's get this done. So what I would do at this time is move that I'm sorry?
So it's a
Move, yes, correct.
motion to table this item for a date
For
certain. and a
October-
Special meeting
Yes.
of October 1st, 2024 at 5 PM. Is that what you all decided?
But can we later add another topic to the meeting or do we have to do that right now?
You'll just do another special meeting is what you'll do.
They can just have
I
have an agenda for that special meeting, but they have to give me all the topics that are going to go.
We're going to add to
No,
it.
yeah, answer.
We'll add to it.
We'll add.
Doesn't have to
we
be
can-
done right this second. We can do it by the end of the year.
Yes, we can add
Okay,
to it.
fine. So then my motion is what Brad said. To move to table this item to the date certain, October 1 at the 5 o'clock for this special meeting to address it.
I second that motion, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So I'm gonna move, we'll adjourn this first, I'm sorry, go ahead. Holland, Commissioner Holland. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and, was there anything, Madam Clerk, before we?
So have we decided to put the manager topic on that as well? Are we deciding that now? Let's just do it now. Guys, I want that topic to address. We have to do that.
Okay.
Anyone have a problem with that? I make a motion that the special meeting at 5 o'clock on October 5th, the agenda included a discussion about the village manager, the finishing his position out here in the village, interim position, and a process to hire a new manager.
October 1,
5 o'clock, October 1.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So those are the two items. So those are the two items that we have for the special meeting for 5 o'clock on October 1. Yes, go ahead.
Your next agenda
Yes,
has an item.
Right.
Like this one.
yes.
So I was going to ask the attorney, do you have to open that meeting in order to move that item to? Because it makes no sense to open a meeting that we already know they're gonna table the item.
The answer is yes, you have to open the meeting in order to hear that, at least open up the discussion on that second resolution.
Got it.
And then you can very quickly without, if you want, without discussion. You have to allow public comment, reply, obviously, but very quickly you can make a motion to table it and to the same time
Got it.
and move on. Yes.
Okay, so then let's do this first. This is the 5 o'clock. This one is in a motion to adjourn the 5 o'clock.
Before you do, I'm sorry, I want to make sure we're able to function on 5 o'clock on Tuesday for you. Who's getting us that information and when? I don't want to get it an hour before the meeting and have a whole grant thing and blah, blah, blah. I'd like that information ASAP. So who's in charge of getting that to us and when can we expect it?
Who's in possession of that information?
Grant writer. I can send over the FERDAP link that will go off. You have it? Okay, yeah. So I can send you the link or send to the clerk, the link for FERDAP, where you can get all that information that explains FERDAP.
Okay.
And then she can share the contact information with the grant writer, so you can contact the grant writer for anything else.
What is it, Brian?
It should be the clerk or the manager coordinator. It shouldn't be the vice mayor.
Okay. Well, he's just giving her the link.
I'm just giving her the link.
I get it. That's fine.
Okay, all right.
Okay, so this thing is not dead. We're just going to get more information so we can have a more substantive conversation about it. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn the 5 o'clock?
Motion to adjourn.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay, so let's just go straight into the 5:30. Yes. Yes, we do. All right, I'm going to call to order the 5:30 special agenda meeting at this time. Madam Clerk, could you please call the roll?
Mayor Gross,
Here.
Vice Mayor Huntington.
Here.
Commissioner Amsler.
Here.
Commissioner Holland, Commissioner Kennedy.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
Very good. Pledge of allegiance, please. All right, so for the 5:30, we'll open to public comment. Read the resolution? Well, I'd like to go to public comment first. I think it's likely going to be very similar to what we just did for the 5 o'clock, that this one is going to be moved off so we can get some additional information, I think. But just to follow the procedure, follow the order, we need to open a public comment first. Got it.
Barbara Kuehl, 777 111th Street. Another one that I just happened to look a couple of days ago and something popped up about the Butterfly Park. And there's a resolution, and in the resolution, it's not in this paragraph that's under resolution, but in the resolution, it mentions nothing about a grant, but it does mention that the city will fork over $50,000 and the village manager will do everything to make this Butterfly Park so. The other grant did say it was anticipating a grant application. But this one just says $50,000 for this butterfly, I don't know how to best phrase, improvement and expansion. You know, in some ways, look, I'm the one who started, Lynn Fisher and I were the one who started the Butterfly Park to begin with. So believe me, I'm in favor of the Butterfly Park. Our board with David Raymond, the Park and Parkways, we ended up being the ones that had to weed it, take care of it. We do not have the staff. We have a maintenance staff that works hard, but when you add something like this, it puts a tremendous burden on our staff unless you make provisions for this. This had no backup about what they were going to do for $50,000. Honestly, I was expecting a swimming pool. I really couldn't understand what you would do for $50,000. And to put something out to the public with absolutely no backup is terrible. And to be honest, this entire commission is sanctioning bad behavior right now. You just are saying, before you were saying, yes, we needed more backup. Maybe next year we'll do this. But then all of a sudden you heard you had a big 2 weeks. So now you're saying, okay, let's see if we can do this for the last grant and put it through. Not really incorporating the residents, not following proper procedure. I'm upset that money was spent for the grant writer and a commissioner acted on this without the commissioner even knowing. The survey, I read the grant, what the criteria was, and I saw the survey and I said, sure, now you can say I had Survey Monkey and had some bogus survey on Nextdoor. I don't want to be part of doing half-assed things underhanded. And that's what this is. We shouldn't be just checking off little boxes. You were supposed to have public input. You were supposed to have meetings. The Park and Parkways Board, I've been trying to go to one of their meetings. They haven't been meeting, so it hasn't been happening at that board. Okay, so this is just coming from maybe one commissioner. I don't know, the rec department, I don't know. But this isn't the way it should be happening. And the commission should stop allowing this procedure, because this is how we get screwed up. This is how, just like Gary said, we end up with projects all over the place, spending money for grant writers, engineers. We had an engineer for the pickleball court. Otherwise, they wouldn't have known it was 124,000 and change. How much money did that cost? And we don't even know if we want a pickleball court. So start doing things for the good of the community and representing the residents, not commissioners. Thank you.
Oh, the secret button. Let's start with something simple, the tree grants that we've done. Done several tree grants, and Barbara and I estimate that, this is not exaggeration, probably a third of the trees that were put in died because they weren't cared for. They weren't fertilized, they weren't pruned, they weren't watered. Simply don't have the staff to do the work. We don't have anybody in our employ that has any real experience in horticulture, not to mention native plants, which aren't exotic, but they do need to be cared for. Despite what people think, you don't just plug them in the ground and they grow. Barbara and I have been involved in 7 or 8 projects over the years. We put our time, our effort, and our money into them. As Barbara mentioned, 114th Street, as well as the log cabin and several other projects. And we were largely the maintenance crew for a number of years. We just don't want to do it anymore. And when we stopped doing it, you've all seen the butterfly part and how it's Butterfly Park and how it's deteriorated in the sense that stuff's been removed or mowed down simply because can't take care of it. Nobody has the knowledge. They don't know the difference between a weed and a desirable plant. $50,000 for a single project to me is just absurd. I want to see landscaping every year. I love it. I'd love to see native plants, but to invest that sum of money in a single project, I mean, it's incredibly lopsided. Talking in there about 2,000 plants. Who's going to do this? Who's going to maintain this? You need irrigation for a long time to establish the plants. Native plants require a couple of years of watering to get established. And take $50,000, $25,000 would be absurd. $10,000 or $15,000 would be exotic, and a lot can be done. 2,000 plants, it's going to be a jungle. It's not going to be attractive. It will be an overgrown mess within 2 years. I guarantee you. I just can't even imagine moving ahead with this project. If you're going to allocate $50,000, it should cover several projects for the entire community, not just one location in the park, which really is not to the benefit and accessible of everybody, despite the fact people think, well, they can come see it. You know, you have a couple of flowering trees on your block, you can appreciate that every day. People aren't going to walk over here to see this every day. Thank you.
David Raymond, 11520 Northeast 9th Avenue. So I'm going to agree with every single thing that Barbara and Gary just said, but I also want to say that having heard that the manager resigned and knowing that we don't have a public works manager, I don't even understand why we're talking about new grants, because who's going to do them? Because I can tell you, because I wrote several of the tree grants along with Barbara and Lynn Fisher and Audra and everybody else who worked on these things. And the trees are great. We're very happy to have them. It was a battle though every year, because administration would argue back that they didn't have the staff to maintain those. And these were single, understory trees. I'm not an arborist, but the flowering trees that we have up here that maybe get to 15 feet, something like that, the ones you'll see across here, we didn't even have the staff to water them. I don't think we have irrigation across the street yet. That's been budgeted, I don't know how many times, and not done. So it's the same thing. So the infrastructure, I think, is what is missing to get a lot of these things done. So, and again, Brian, I know we're on the new meeting here, but on the last one too, trying to put these things through without having the infrastructure in place, and the infrastructure here being staff, who's going to do these things? I mean, you're 3 to 6 months out from a new manager. I've sat on, I don't know how many committees, and if I wasn't on them, Amy was, for hiring a new manager, and it takes a while. So I don't want to stop progress either, but I don't see how you're even going to get stuff done. And I'll have more to say about this in the budget meeting in a few minutes. So thank you.
Hello, Gage Hartung, 1029 Northeast 114th Street. So kind of a ditto what I spoke about earlier about the process. Again, just found out about this butterfly garden on Monday. I didn't really, learning about it as we're sitting here talking with the other residents, or, with the discussion. $50,000 is a lot of money. I'm tired of driving over potholes. I'm wondering, like, why are we spending $50,000 on a butterfly garden when we can't even pave our roads? I mean, it's like a mixed, we're spending $90,000 on a pickleball court. Again, potholes everywhere. Back to what David said, and the thing that caught my attention was that we have 3 years to spend this money, but what happens if we don't want to do it? Is it going to look really bad that we ask for a grant and then we end up not using it? I'm also kind of like, watching this from the other side, watching this meeting develop with no backup. The commissioners don't know what's happening, but they're being asked to vote on stuff. It just doesn't sit well. I think it needs to be, this needs to be worked out and not rushed through. Again, the points about the existing butterfly garden, how is it being maintained? How are we going to take care of this thing? One of the things that I like to remind people is that everything that you're doing is in front of somebody's house. Do these people along these medians even know that we're planning on putting a big butterfly garden in front of their house? So the public comment, the pickleball court, do the people around the rec center know that they're planning on putting a pickleball court in there with the pop, pop, pop all the time? So the thing is again, it goes back to my initial point, was just notification, working this out, having the proper notices, the workshops, the public comment, and then letting it move forward at that point and not rushing it through when we're now without a manager, finding out about that too. So, all right, thank you.
Lori Mertes, 741 Northeast 114th Street. I am one of those people who looks at the butterfly garden every day. I am one of the great recipients of the joy the butterfly garden has brought us, but I also am one of the ones who's seen every single tree that's been planted since the butterfly garden and the pyre that we lived with, the two-story, for those of you who may not know, remember, but we had 4 months of having a two-story pyre after Hurricane Irma in front of my yard and all of my neighbors. And so we were really grateful to have that butterfly garden. So I really want to echo all the sentiments that have been said so far. I want to thank Barbara and Gary because I see you out there. I'm a big gardener, but I also have a job and that day job that keeps me from being able to be out there with you. But I also want to say that I did not even register when I saw the email that said Thursday is a big day on the agendas and there's a butterfly garden. I was like, oh, yay, great. I had no idea it was this is the official term of this meeting and that this is the designated butterfly garden. So it would have been nice to even see a street name number put there so that I would have had my attention perk up to even go to look to see what this was about. And I was grateful to hear from someone this morning who said, hey, do you know this is happening in front of your house? So I then scurried to try to find out the information about it because there has been, and I'm echoing what everyone else has said. I want to keep it short because I do appreciate that I heard that you all are planning to table this in the way that you just discussed the previous matter. So I appreciate that, but I wanted to get here on the record and say process really is an issue. Inclusion of participation is an issue. I am on the board of the village's Art and Culture Board. I do try to be active and participate in my village's government and to participate in all the wonderful things we have here. But you all are making it a little difficult when you don't provide the right information and process for us to participate in that process. I'll leave it at that. And I just really hope that we can do this the right way. I write grants for a living. I run a nonprofit. You don't just go pursue money because it's there. You don't just come up with an idea just to go get money because it's there. You really have a thoughtful plan. You make sure it's something that there's consensus on, and you make sure it's something that's the right thing to do based on all of the needs. And I'll just finish. I'm also in the position of my house on the street, the recipient of all of the runoff water from the street that's not been maintained. I've actually done every kind of water mitigation to try to fix that at my property. My garage is the recipient. So if you ever see those ugly barriers in front of my garage with my lovely, very expensive new paved driveway that I had to put in, I've done everything I possibly can, and I'm still the recipient of all the runoff of the water on the street. So that's one of those kinds of issues I'd love to see, again, a little balance in the approach of the projects that are being put forward and the benefit to our community. Thank you.
Judy Hammelberg, 1015 Northeast 116th Street. Not only do we have no manager, we have no public works director, we have no receptionist, no assistant village clerk. We don't have enough PW staff. This village needs staff to run it. And we're talking about cutting taxes. This is crazy. Most of us would prefer to have better services and more services than to save $20 to $100 a year. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm a new resident, just moved here from Connecticut. I live at 712 Northeast 114th Street. I am also recipient neighbor of the beautiful Butterfly Garden. They come and hang out at my yard, love it. My kids love it.
Your name, please?
Joyce, Nina. I've been living here since the second week of April. This is the first time, actually. I learned about 2 hours ago, which I had to rush out of work in Brickell to get here on time. My neighbor sent me an urgent text telling me, hey, the Butterfly Garden that's being discussed is the one that's across our street. I haven't received any mailing. I would love to know how I can get part of that mailing when there's like any changes that affect us here so that we can be aware of it. Secondly, I was told that the Butterfly Garden, not only the changes or improvements of 50,000 there's being planned to do on this committee, but it also includes benches, picnic benches, future possibilities of a playground. I moved to this area because the fact that it's quiet and is very peaceful and everyone is very neighborly, very kind, and there's not a lot of traffic. But having all these other extra like playgrounds and benches is just, I don't know what that's going to invite. We have one 2 blocks away, which I think is, as mentioned in the prior meeting, in quite disarray. My daughter got hurt, so I haven't gone to the park there again. The fact that I hear for the first time that a manager resigned, I don't even know how we can even discuss this or push anything if there's not a process or an order to all of this. It seems very chaotic. Thank you.
Good evening. I am Danielle Wolf. I live at 1120 Northeast 115th Street, and I want to be very explicit. I'm speaking as a resident right now, and I will speak as the chair of the Parks and Parksway Committee. Hold your tomatoes, please, shortly. So I actually want to echo and agree with everything that's already been said as a resident, that this feels very messy and very rushed, and it feels very big, and like we're dreamers that can get anything that we want accomplished. I love the idea of being able to seek federal or state funding to be able to push our green spaces. I really do. But to have it happen in such a quick time with all of these other things like the manager leaving, which is also news to me as of 20 minutes ago, just doesn't seem realistic. And all of the things that everyone has already said, +1, +1, +1. Now, I'm going to remove my resident hat and speak as the chair of the Parks and Parksway Committee and say, please join us. We've had 2 meetings where we've met quorum. We're fresh. We have lots of big ideas. I want to be very explicit that this came out of a meeting where we were dreamers and thinking big, and we had an exploratory conversation and realized it was too big. And since then have discussed doing small projects that we walk into, something like welcome signs, like community engagement events, maybe something later in the year that is small that we can refresh parts of this space, but not $50,000. I don't think, I will say for the board, we are not ready to commit to doing a project this big. And now not even close, because it's clear we don't have the manager to support with this or the staff to support with this. So just to be very clear, the board recognizes that this is a huge ask and realized that and walked back from it. Does money sound great? Money always sounds great. You know, federal or state funding always sounds really amazing, but not now. Okay, thank you. Yeah, thank you for noticing.
Danielle Huntington, 744 Northeast 119th Street. I'm here to speak on the Butterfly Garden, other projects in Biscayne Park. I think where we shoot ourselves in the foot is the loudest voices are the ones that get heard, obviously. They're the ones that show up. They're the ones who are in the conversations mostly. A large demographic that's missing is young mothers in Biscayne Park who are represented, young families. We have 3 young kids who play in this park. We walk all the time. We have 2 dogs. We're always out and about. And I feel like we have what we need to function, you know, a great commission who's very collaborative, but we don't advocate for a large majority of residents who do want to see progress in the village, who do want to see improvements. And by shooting things in the foot before they even get started and not trusting the process and saying, well, we did this in the past and it worked for us. It hasn't, and it hasn't worked for a long time. And the Butterfly Garden, you know, I have a background in ecology, and most of those plants, yes, they are native, but they don't go together. They don't provide any ecological integrity within the ecosystem itself. There's actually invasive plants there. And whether we want to pursue this project or not, progress is something we should pursue in this village, and trust the process. By saying we should just shoot in the foot and go about it a certain way, it hasn't worked for us in the past. And it certainly isn't working for us now. So why don't we just trust the process of where it should lead and hold our elected officials accountable for doing their part? You guys should be doing research. You should be calling the grant writer. You should be holding the village manager accountable for his, inability to produce something for the residents to see and to vote on and to, have all this misinformation provided because there is nothing else to go off of. I think everyone should do their part, and we should continue to progress forward in this village, regardless of whatever project it is, and that's all I wanted to say.
We have no other comment here in the log cabin. We'll turn it over to Zoom. Okay, going once, going twice. I don't see any on Zoom. The understanding of where we are with time, knowing we have a budget coming up, do we have any reply or do?
I'll keep it very short, but I would like to reply.
Okay.
First off, let me address the misconceptions. This is a grant for $50,000 that's unmatched. There's not one penny talked about here that's coming from the residents. It would be money from the state. At FERDAP, when you're talking $50,000 or under, it's free money. Second of all, I'm sorry I even ever mentioned the word playground, because I mentioned it as it gets more attractive to the state the more amenities you offer to the residents. I did do the research. I went around and started talking to residents who live around this, and the overall majority was, I'm sorry I didn't make your house, but I did reach out to other residents, your neighbors. The vast majority was no playgrounds. I understood, and I went back to the grant writer to say, can we make this happen? Not as the most attractive project. Without it, 100% it can happen as a nature trail, as our butterfly garden, just as the Parks and Parkways designed it. So that's that thing. The second, John from Public Works, I want to apologize because you guys do a great job. I see you're out there, you're working hard. I understand we have a big village and we have a short staff, and we haven't supported you enough. You guys have been doing a great job, and I see you out there working hard. You deserve an apology for people saying that you guys aren't maintaining, because you are, and you're doing a great job. Thank you, John. I understand that we're rushed here. I apologize to this village for being rushed, but we should have been doing this process a year ago. I plan on, in November, bringing FERDAP 2026 up in the discussion so we do it the proper way. But like I said, this is the job to advocate for the residents, to advocate for change, for improvements. It should have been started a long time ago. Unfortunately, I've only been here for 5 months, and I didn't really register that it needed to be done until it was last minute. And it's a try. I understand that we'll probably get tabled, maybe get shot down, but I have to try. So that's all I have to say.
Understood. Okay, thank you. Do we have any other reply before we just go to the resolution?
I'm just gonna echo on the first, sorry, John, did interrupt? I didn't see you. Again, Ryan, thank you so much. I echo what you said. I know it comes from a very good place. I just think processes, again, is the issue, and I think people need to have those processes in play, take time. I know how frustrating it can be. I find myself many times on the same spot about trying to rush things through, and also having the other side, which is trusting stuff to do it, which is sort of what we control, right? And I understand how challenging that is. So thank you again for bringing it up. Same thing, John. Thank you so much for what you guys do. It's amazing. I also concur with a lot of the comments that I've heard that we, with less staff, can do less things. And we've challenged before when we have a full house, Public Works, and everybody sitting on their chair and haven't accomplished all those things we need to see happen with what we got already. So it is a challenging effect of having the manager sort of resigned recently, having Public Works empty chair as a director, and having this sort of projects in place, and this big dreams, as Danielle, you stated, they still need to be there. We just need to have the right people behind them. We'll get there. I have faith on that, but again, I just wanted to acknowledge that. And again, Ryan, thank you. I know it comes from a good place, but we have to trust the process that we have in place to let you all speak, and also focus on hiring the right people behind them. That's what we can manage. And yes, we challenge, and Danielle, I heard you. I don't know where you're at over there in the background. That's our role and our job to do. And I think that's why we're here. That's it. Thanks.
Real quickly, if I may. So when I moved here, I joined the Parks and Parkways Board. It was the first thing I did. It's how I met people. Actually, Barbara came up to me at another meeting that I attended and invited me to join the board because she knew that I was a plant guy. And I joined the board, and that was my first involvement. So I'm an advocate for development of our public spaces and native plantings and all that good stuff. And I'm here for all that conversation. It's a process thing for me again. And not that you need defending, you're a big boy, you can take care of yourself, but I don't like hearing words like deceptive and some things, because it sounds like when I hear words like that, I hear nefarious intent, and I don't think there's anything nefarious here. I think you saw an opportunity and you ran at it, and I hire salespeople for a living and you're hired. So I'm not sure you closed the deal though tonight, but it's a process thing. So this one I'm against. So this one I'm a no, and I don't even think we should add it to our special meeting, because this one, given what's going on in this village with empty positions and the nature of this this enormous task, even though it's someone else's money, which is totally cool, I'm a no for this year. So I don't even want to hear it at the meeting on Tuesday. We have another topic, the manager, and then we have a very full commission meeting. We have plenty to do on Tuesday night. But if we decide to do it, then we'll come talk about it. Now, here's what I would ask you to do. You said you're going to bring FERDAP back to us in November. I would like you to bring it next Tuesday, because next Tuesday, did you look at the agenda yet for Tuesday? Okay, so we have alternative funding methods. That's where we need to do it. We need to have an organized conversation about what's the lobbyist doing for us, what's the grant writer doing for us. We need to have that conversation and let people do their jobs. I also think there might be a learning opportunity here about what everybody's role is in the process, because these are staff things to do, and we hire vendors to do things. I wouldn't, if I have a legal question, I don't go online and research it and call Brad and say, so I think this is how we should approach the ordinance. I call and have a conversation with Brad, and he says, Mac, I'll take care of it. I'm your attorney. So I think we need to let everyone do their jobs, and we are advisory up here. And both of these topics, I would have appreciated having been brought to us so we could have a conversation and decide if it's time to pull the trigger or if we're going to press pause on something and then let staff do their jobs. But this one I'm a no on for all kinds of reasons: maintenance, village input, and quite frankly, guys, we're not going to have a manager here until next year, January, February at the earliest. We won't have a manager, which means no projects are getting done. Someone will keep the lights on in this village for us for a couple of months and make sure that staff shows up and gets the job done and gets a paycheck. So no progress will be made for the first three, either the first 25 to 30% of this fiscal year, write it off. So we can't be taking on more stuff, because Lord knows in the budget we're about to approve, there's more than enough for that person to do this year. We don't need another project to be chasing down. So that's where I stand on that. But the idea of median development and landscaping and funding it, and especially finding other ways to fund it, 100%. Thank you.
Commissioner Holland, did you have any reply?
I will be brief, thanks. Yes, just unique perspective, having been on the commission, not on the commission, back on the commission, and took full advantage of the break. Nice to see you guys again. Got into career stuff and music stuff, getting my hand back in shape. Themes that were familiar then that I'm seeing again is that the common themes that I'm seeing is people not having what they consider adequate visibility, adequate notice, adequate understanding. And I have an idea or two that I will try to help address that. I think one of our best options is this new app. Everyone has a phone. Not everyone checks their email, so I'll be putting together an idea that I'll bring up in the next meeting to try and see if we can't increase engagement on the app. Because I've lived here 20-something years, and unless I'm going to the website, I'm not finding out. It's not like there's people. It's not a town crier. There's no, I'm not on anyone's email list. At least it's getting lost in the spam like everything else. Excuse me? Exactly, but I don't see it because I get like 8. I need to take my digital life back and get out of Gmail. But until then, I think maybe the app is a good bet, and I'll have some ideas for the next meeting. And the other thing I want to say quickly is I've been to 2 of the last 3 Parks and Parkways meetings. We've missed one because of a perceived lack of quorum. And having been most recently the last one, I think you guys actually have a Parks and Parkways board now. I mean, I can just tell it's a good group with good energy, good ideas. So look out for more to come, and I'm eager to rejoin them more than you can imagine, I'm sure after tonight, to rejoin them back in December as a member of their board. Thanks.
Okay, thanks. As far as any reply, I just have one very quick one, and I just I thought it was kind of telling that our Parks and Parkway chair said that they're not quite ready. That was something that I keyed on. So I want to keep mine short because we got to move. So that's just kind of something that kind of jumped out at me. So Mr. Attorney, would you please read our resolution, please?
Sir. Thought you did.
Sorry?
We were in
Ready?
reply.
No.
We were in reply to public comment.
Yes.
Go ahead.
A resolution of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park amending the 2023 through 2031 capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2025, 2026 to add a butterfly garden renovation and an expansion project, authorizing the village manager to do all things necessary to carry out the plan, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Thanks, Brad.
May I say something before we put a motion? Would you like to pull this item and bring it back at another time for us to discuss? It's your item. He can do that, can he?
Good.
That's fine, so it doesn't fail. I'll pull it.
He can pull it from the agenda.
I hate the idea of voting down something that had such good intent.
I'll make a motion to remove this item.
Okay, there's a motion on the table to withdraw the item for now. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Ryan.
Aye, okay. All right, so the item is withdrawn for the time being. Do I have a motion to adjourn the 5:30?
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, great. Okay, so, sorry, go ahead. I don't want to move too quick.